Coloring Crypto.
Today's episode of Coloring Crypto is with the co-founder and architect of RetailCoin. RetailCoin is based in Holland, and Hugo has got some really interesting things to share with us about regulations over in Europe. So RetailCoin is launching an ICO to disrupt the currently existing loyalty programs that we all know and loathe. You know, you've got to carry around a separate discount card for your Safeway, your Longs, your Ralphs, your Bevco, wherever you're shopping. And it's so ridiculous to fill your wallet with that stuff. Or you give them your phone number, but I'm personally done giving them my phone number. Anyway, you can see I'm a believer that loyalty programs are a great candidate for transparency and currency on the blockchain. So this is RetailCoin is a company that we've been working with to help them with their launch of their ICO. You can check out their website, retailcoins.eu, but it is a promotional podcast. So just know that as a disclaimer. At the same time, Hugo's a great guy. I really enjoyed this conversation, and let me know what you think. By the way, if you are interested in finding out stuff about US regulations in the crypto space, the best episodes are episode 6 with Andrew Chapin and episode 15 with Bootstrap Legal's Amy Wan. All right, without further ado, one more thing. Leave us a review. Visit our sponsors, coloringcrypto.com/sponsors. And get ready, we are on a slew of Dogecoin releases. I find the Dogecoin such a fascinating experiment / real thing. And we've done 2 episodes with Jackson Palmer. Check those out. Just search Dogecoin and Coloring Crypto. And we also have an episode with one of the core dev guys that's currently working on it. So that's coming up. And we want a few more because we're going to make a single episode that is going to be the evergreen Dogecoin story episode. So tweet at us if you've got stuff on Dogecoin to share. At Coloring Crypto. Thanks very much for listening.
Coloring Crypto.
All right, well, welcome to Coloring Crypto, Hugo with RetailCoins. I'm really excited to have you on. We've been working together a little bit and having phone calls when you're up late at night preparing for an early morning presentation. You've been traveling a lot, and now you've got a new baby. So the first question is, man, how do you keep going? Where do you get all your energy?
Well, a lot of coffee, and to be honest, the baby gives me a lot of energy. And within 16 hours of work and 8 hours of sleep, and a great wife who's taking care of the kid, I think the energy is still flowing around every day.
So give us a sense, just so people get the context. Give us a sense of your background and what sort of led you to starting RetailCoins.
Well, I'm a geek by nature, so I'm now 20 years in the IT industry. I started just before the millennium. I started out as a Microsoft certified system engineer and became a consultant in the infrastructure space and internet space and email and that kind of stuff. And at 24, I started to innovate on media center technologies and building the first PC TV product for Holland, kind of like the first TiVo for Holland. And I started a website around that, and it became the 3rd largest website in the world on media center technologies for Microsoft, on which Microsoft awarded me with the MVP award, the Most Valuable Professional award. And a couple of months later, I got hired by Microsoft as a technology specialist. And my career just went crazy from that moment on. I promoted to Microsoft Europe within 15 months. After that, I became the best engineer in EMEA, that's Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Became 2nd in the world at the age of 27. And then I thought that I wanted to do something bigger than Microsoft. And I left Microsoft again, and I started my own company in China. Well, I had a great journey. I started a company from 0 to 1 million, sold my company in 2014, and then I started at Nikon as the digital technology manager, the head of marketing systems and direct sales, managing the whole digital marketing technologies and the e-commerce operations and technologies and the P&L and everything around that. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I started to look around me because I'm an entrepreneur by heart, and I started to look around how I could add more value with the knowledge that I had about digital marketing and digital technologies. And I saw that the retail industry within Europe, and especially Holland and Germany, Western Europe, they're lacking in the digital transformation. And I started to build a product that would help these retail companies within their digital transformation journey. And then my new company, Digital MKB, was born, where we made a mobile loyalty solution.
Describe what you mean by digital transformation for these retail companies and what their challenge was.
Well, most of the retail companies, they had a real challenge moving to online and moving into omni-commerce, which means that the combination between offline and online and social engagement and everything connected to that. And they couldn't really do the investments. And the retail industry is also a little bit different in Europe than it is in America. So where in America you have Amazon and the platform economy around the retail, in Holland and in Western Europe, that's not really the case. So these retail companies, they're pretty old companies, and some of the new companies are coming up. For example, in Holland, we've got like Coolblue, very big company, Bol.com, very big company that is a pure online player. But there wasn't really like the older retail companies or the brick and mortar retail companies that transformed into an online company.
Did you find, talking to them, was it a case where they knew they needed to get into digital, but they just didn't know how, or was it they were just old and reluctant to even get into the new technology?
Well, they wanted to get into the new technologies, but for a lot of these smaller companies, for example, it's just not affordable. They cannot make the investments to move into the online space, especially like mobile commerce and mobile loyalty solutions. So you have to imagine that in 2015, I went to a company, and this is pretty normal in Holland, right? I went to a company and they asked me if I had the paper loyalty card with me with the stamps. There was the moment that I thought, like, no, I don't have my paper loyalty card, nor will I ever take my paper loyalty card. But then when you turn the question around, the question really becomes is why do they not have a digital version of that? And that's when we started to build a new product that would deal with this. And we built a mobile loyalty solution to start with. And then basically we got like more questions about, can you also help us with promotions and with, we do have a web shop, but it's not integrated and it's all standalone and it's hurting the business a little bit. So we started to integrate those features to build like a real tool, a platform for retail companies that they could, without large investments, still make use of all the digital technologies that are available today.
What type of industries were your first clients?
Well, I think my first client was a local fish shop.
Huh.
Pops and mom's store, a local fish shop, and they were really nice people. But again, with a paper loyalty card and a loyalty solution that people don't have with them and they don't use it, then it's a worthless loyalty solution because it doesn't drive loyalty. So that was the first one. And then I started to take a look on different types of retail companies. So I went to a liquor store, I went to a bookshop, I went to a butcher shop, I went to a bakery. And some of these companies are smaller and some of these companies are bigger. And we noticed that our solution actually was a good fit for all of them. I took like enterprise technology and I squashed that down to make it a modular solution for retail companies. So it was usable for smaller companies and for bigger companies. And we started just like selling the solution one company after the other. And because it was a good product market fit, I guess, every second meeting we sold another app.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, loyalty programs out here, it's just ridiculous how you get a separate paper card for every single place you shop at. Personally, I've stopped carrying all those cards, and when they ask me if I have a card, I just say no, and they just use whatever card they have there. Talk about the solution you guys came up with and then how this kind of led you to this new company, doing an ICO.
Yeah, so after we built our first version of our mobile app and delivering that to customers, we started to get feature requests from different kind of companies. And the first feature request we got is like, can you add promotions because I want to save on my advertising cost in the local newspaper? Can you help us with engaging the customer a little bit better? And so we built all those technologies and those features. And then At a certain day, we started to think about how can we scale up the amount of businesses that we help. So we were going like one-to-one on the retailers, and how could we do this in a little bit bigger scale? So we went to a shopping center, and there we got like the question that led into the RetailCoin. And the question was like, yes, I want to have a loyalty solution, but I want to do it together with my neighbor next door. And within the shopping centers, they wanted to collaborate on customer retention all together in order to keep that customer inside of the shopping center. And that's basically when the blockchain solution came around, because with the blockchain solution, you can deal with the challenges that they have in order to set up a joint loyalty program. And that was the first step into building up a blockchain solution and leading up towards the retail coins.
And how far along are you guys? Tell us kind of like where you are now with everything.
So we started out the company in the last year. In I think January we started. In April we founded the company, and we started, of course, with a couple of customers. And then everything went pretty fast. So we gained like customer after customer. So we currently have like around almost 50 customers that are using our loyalty solutions and our apps. We got like elected by the local business accelerator to join them, which is a government-backed accelerator. And then I think in August last year, we started to talk to the shopping centers and think about and designing our blockchain solution in order to help them collaborate on that customer retention.
You know, I'm curious. I've spent time in Holland, and clearly a lot of technical people sort of advanced, but I've also noticed there's a little bit of a skepticism around ICOs. What's the climate been like unique to Holland?
Well, ICOs, it's a new way of fundraising for Dutch people. And we're pretty conservative normally. But at the same time, you see that in Holland, we have currently about 500,000 crypto investors. People who invest in Bitcoin and people who invest in Ethereum. But they're still a little bit skeptical about ICOs because the press around the ICOs, it's pretty bad. We've had some scams here in Holland, and because Holland is not a very big country, that resonates across all of the consumers. And so we took a look on how can we make a responsible ICO. So how do we do an ICO that people really can trust in and understand that they're actually investing in helping us scale up a business and help those companies work together all with each other.
Yeah, it's funny. I watched you on that YouTube interview. It was with a local Dutch broadcaster. And it was funny to me because I just noticed you spent more time just talking about almost defending the entire ICO space as opposed to kind of talking about your own business. But he was tough, man.
Yeah, I think that the press, especially the press, is a little bit skeptical. And that's because we get all these warnings from the financial authorities here in Holland to be careful because most of the ICOs do not protect the consumer's interests.
And you mentioned to me you structured your ICO under Dutch law, and you've got a relationship with the Dutch Central Bank. How do you follow the local regulations? What are the components of that?
So the first thing in that is that our company and also our foundation that issues and manages the coin is our Dutch organization. And therefore, by default, we fall under Dutch law. So that was the first step that we took. And then the next step that we took was our bank. So we already had an existing relationship with the only AAA bank in Holland, the Rabobank. Basically, we went to them and we asked, listen, we want to do an ICO. So how do we do this? And we went proactive to all of these organizations to ask them, we want to do a responsible ICO that people can trust. How do we do this? So we went through the compliance departments of the Rabobank, and we explained everything in 3 hours or so. Like, what is our ICO? What is the intention? What are we doing with the loyalty solution? What is the goals that we are trying to achieve? And after 3 hours, we got the approval to use the Rabobank as our banking company for the ICO funds.
Were there particular components that you would have liked to include but there was pushback. Like, what were the elements, if you were to advise a company in Holland that wants to do an ICO, like what would you sort of advise them to be aware of?
Well, the first thing that we got warned about is when you accept cryptocurrencies, you really have to know who the customer is. So we've got some very strong regulations and laws around the WWFT, as we call it. It's the law against financing terrorism and money laundering. So you really have to know with whom you're dealing and from whom you're accepting cryptocurrencies. So of course, you have the KYC processes to deal with that. But for the Dutch banks, this is not enough. So we agreed on with the compliance department, and they have a special blockchain department for this, to analyze every single cryptocurrency that we receive and take a look in whether they can accept to transfer this into euros or not. So the real challenge for the banks are that cryptocurrencies that are being converted back into euros, that euro money must be approved. So this is basically the biggest part of the banking side. And then, of course, you also have the authorities for financial market, and in our case also the Dutch central bank. And their job is to make sure that if you do something, that you're either regulated under the financial authorities or you are not a security. So we went to the Dutch Central Bank and we had a great discussion with them. So we were sitting there with our advisory board, and they're very senior and they've already dealt before with the Dutch Central Bank. And the Dutch Central Bank actually came with 4 people to listen to our story and our ICO. And basically their main concern was 2 things. The first main concern is, are you a security? And if so, you have to comply with Dutch financial regulation. The second thing is, when you do an ICO or a blockchain solution, do you allow consumers to exchange cryptocurrencies for fiat money, for euros? And this is also a big issue. So when we showed we don't have a cryptocurrency but a loyalty token, and that our token by the consumers is not directly exchangeable for euros but for products, that's the moment that everything changed, and they said, yes, this is what we like.
Got it. Okay. And where else are you looking to raise money and to bring your product?
So last week I went to China, as I've of course lived there 6 years, so I've got a pretty big network over there. So I went to China because there's a lot of excitement on cryptocurrencies in China. And a lot of investors they're ready to invest in China, although there are some challenges with regulations within China. China is definitely a market that we take a look at, not specifically to run an ICO, but also to attract customers. China has a large retail industry, and last week we also attracted our first Chinese customer for our loyalty solution, which is a luxury diamond retail shop.
You know, I think a lot of our listeners see China as one of these big influences on sort of the adoption of cryptocurrency overall. A lot of people are scared on the crackdown. What's your sense of cryptocurrency and regulation in China?
Well, I think that from a government perspective, they just want to control the blockchain and the cryptocurrency. So from the technology perspective of blockchain, they're very excited about it. What they're less excited about is ICOs and how that would impact the economic state within China. To make it very simple, running an ICO in China is not legal. You cannot advertise for that. You should not run an ICO in China. So what you basically see is that most Chinese investors, because of course they do want to invest in ICOs, they move abroad with their structures and finance their investment in ICOs from, for example, Hong Kong and from Singapore and the foreign countries. So they basically move the money outside of China, and from that a moment on, they are allowed to invest in China, in ICOs.
You know, this is interesting. One of the things one of our earlier guests, Miko, talked about was as a particular government like China will crack down, it just moves the money outside, you know, to, like you said, Hong Kong or Singapore or even Japan. Do you think that China is going to look at that and at some point realize that by clamping down on these things, they're losing an opportunity.
That may be, but China is not interested in taking every opportunity that exists. They probably will be interested in the future to take the opportunity once they can control it. So you have to understand that within the communist politics within China, there's a strong control from the government on the country and what happens within the country. So as soon as China doesn't want something to happen, basically it doesn't happen. And they have all their mechanism to make sure that it doesn't happen. So, for example, their main chat platform called Weixin, it's WeChat. It's completely censored by Tencent company. It's the company that built the WeChat application on the order of the Chinese government under the Chinese law. So at any given moment when the Chinese government wants some piece of information, they have full access to this. So they will do the same on the financial markets, and they will also control the outbound flow of money towards different countries. They already control that, of course, but they will specifically on cryptocurrencies, and they will further control that.
I'd like to get a really good description of the actual product. Let's picture that retail coins, everything goes in the best possible case. It's a big success in a year or two. What's the customer experience who's actually using retail coins?
That's a good question. So our market approach is built up in 3 phases. So the first phase, and that's already what we have been doing for the last year, is to build branded apps with one loyalty system on the back end, where retailers can run their loyalty programs. So we have branded apps for every retailer, which includes a whole set of technologies in order for the retailer to get a better relationship with their customers, with their consumers. So that's the first step. The second phase is what we're doing now is we're moving into shopping centers and city centers. And we built one app for a shopping center or a city center, and we provide sub-apps within that one app, kind of like a shop-in-shop concept for apps. And this way, we can very easily hook up many retailers from the same city center environment. So we do believe that loyalty is pretty much driven from a local perspective. So one retail company next to the other retail company that has a strong loyalty component. And then the third step that we're taking, and that's also what we're doing now, is we're moving up into the large retail companies, but then we would be APIing our RetailCoin solution. So we would not necessarily give them a branded app, as well as an API integration with the RetailCoin, so they can use their own app and use our loyalty system.
So I could walk into a shopping center, get your app, and potentially all the different retail stores in that shopping center, I could use a single app to shop across those and access their loyalty program.
Yes. And in order to facilitate the retailer to have a better relationship with their consumers, what we do is we build technology that puts the customer at the center, the consumer at the center, and we help the retailer organize their marketing, their sales, and their service around that consumer. So what we are today is we have our marketing solutions with loyalty system and promotions and inspiring content that the retailer can add to the app. We are going to close a joint venture next week with a payment service provider. So we have access to a bank license, and we can provide direct payments inside of the apps. So we can sell products on an m-commerce level. And then the third step that we're building right now is a service portal integrated into the app, so we can combine the marketing, the sales, and the service in order to build our new scenarios. So you can imagine that when you buy a product, we can automatically assign retail coins and loyalty points to the consumer because we know the transaction. But then when we have sold a product through the app, we also don't have to give you a paper cash ticket anymore. We can also build that into the service portal and also provide your warranty within that service portal. So we're really focusing on new scenarios where the customer is in the center and organizing the marketing, the sales, and the service around it, and then combining those areas in order to come up with new scenarios like no more paper loyalty cards, and many, many more new scenarios will come up in the future.
And so you talked about, to fit into the Dutch regulations, you structured it so that users would not necessarily, cash out their retail coins for fiat, but would just, access products with that. Do you see long term that, a retail coin would be something that, would be a cryptocurrency on, CoinMarketCap and on exchanges?
Yes, absolutely. The one thing that we don't want to do, though, is we don't want to create a discount. So when you allow a consumer to exchange the retail coins into fiat currencies, then effectively you're creating a discount and you're not creating loyalty. There is no incentive for the consumer to go back to the store to get a second purchase. Okay. So what we do allow is for the retailer, the company, to have their retail coins exchanged on the exchanges. Now, this is also exactly where we're creating the value. So for the retail company, in order to provide a higher loyalty percentage, or for example, they have a specific marketing campaign about Christmas or Easter, for example, where they want to provide more retail coins to the consumer, they will have to purchase that from the crypto exchange. And when they purchase that, that's the moment, of course, when you drive demand towards those cryptocurrencies, and we allow the retailer to drive this demand. And then, of course, what we also do is when we drive the demand is we allow the consumer to buy more retail coins. We just don't allow them to sell more retail coins. But the economics are pretty nice. So if a consumer buys more retail coins, that increases the demand, which influences the price in a positive way, which immediately allows them to get more product for the money they just purchased the retail coins for. There's a really nice value creation system around this whole token economics that doesn't depend on investors alone.
And so in terms of the product itself, what's the roadmap?
So we're currently now, we have our marketing and loyalty solutions running. So we have that deployed at our customers at the moment. We are now building in the blockchain solution and a retail coin integration in this. And we expect in Q3 to deploy and update the first apps towards the blockchain solutions.
So we can actually see this in 2018.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
And we were upgrading all of our customers because we have this modular technologies. I'm very excited about this. So basically what we do is we take out the current loyalties module and we just hook in the new loyalty module. We click update and then the updates get pushed into the apps and then boom, you have your blockchain solution inside of the current apps. Customers don't even have to download the new app. Their current app just gets updated.
And with your engineering experience, I mean, how hands-on are you in terms of this implementation onto the blockchain?
Yes, of course. I'm dealing with that on a daily basis. I'm leading the development team, and that's what we do every day. Yeah.
And what are the unique challenges doing this in the blockchain versus your past experience in other industries or technologies?
Well, the interesting part is Solidity, to be honest. Solidity as a programming language is not as mature as my favorite programming language, C#, the .NET platform. So there's a lot of things that we have to trick a way around things.
Huh.
We use the wallet addresses of retailers as their unique identifier to identify the retailer. And then we match those wallet addresses to see with whom the retailers can collaborate on the customer retention side. So we have different fields where we add different wallet addresses, and then we start matching those wallet addresses across the smart contracts to see if they're eligible for collaboration on the customer retention. And this is something that's actually very challenging to do with Solidity. It's very easy within the .NET platform, but Solidity, it just takes a little bit more time.
So right now, you guys are doing your pre-sale. When does the actual public token sale launch?
Well, we were preparing for a public token sale on the 1st of March, but because we want to do a really compliant ICO and we want to make sure that the Dutch Central Bank doesn't have any objections as we move forward, we have decided to postpone it for a few weeks. So we're now aiming for the 1st of April to start our public ICO.
And for folks that are listening that are actually interested, what do they do to kind of find out more and get involved?
Well, we have our website online. It's called retailcoins.eu. We have our white paper online. We are still going to make some updates to explain our market approach a little bit better, because we get some feedback that people want to understand how we take the market approach and how we are going to conquer the Dutch market as a whole. And of course, next to the Dutch market, we are focusing on Western Europe. We are focusing on outside of Europe already. We're taking a look at China. But we also want to do a realistic market approach. So we are a Dutch company. We know the Dutch market very well. So our first step is going to conquer the Dutch market. And then from there on, we're moving further. So we've just signed up our first customer in Poland. We've just signed up our first customer in China. We're moving towards Germany. We're moving towards France. We're moving towards the United Kingdom. This is something that we still need to explain a little bit better in our white paper, but you can definitely take a look at it. You can go to our website. You can download the white paper in English, Russian, Japanese, and Chinese, whichever language you prefer. And of course, if you have more questions, you can always just directly contact us. We're available for any communication, of course.
Well, Hugo, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and taking the time out of your new busy life with the baby, and congratulations on that. And yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Hugo. Take care. Bye bye.
Coloring Crypto is brought to you by Affordable Jerseys, home of the player trade guarantee. Check them out at affordablejerseys.com. For a full list of our sponsors, go to coloringcrypto.com/sponsors.